Hey Victoria, it's Ashley Scott, your digital media specialist. So this week's vlog is going to look a little different. We are featuring our hosts and guests from a previous Town Talk podcast episode. If you haven't already, you should definitely visit Victorians.gov/TOWNtalk to view all of the past Town Talk podcasts that have aired so that you can get caught up. Today, Ashley and Shane, the podcast co-host, are sitting down with Rick McBrayer and Jena West from the Office of Emergency Management to discuss hurricane preparedness. So they're going to touch on a little bit about Hurricane Harvey and the response with that event. And they're also going to talk about the Hurricane and Disaster Preparedness Guide that they've put together. Now, remember, hurricane season is actually June 1st through late October. So we're gearing up to be in the most active season for Texas and Victoria, which is September through late October. So you want to listen to this vlog today, or watch this vlog, I should say, today. And you also want to visit www.victoriatexas.gov/emergency so that you can get your hands on that hurricane preparedness and disaster guide. Keep watching, and I hope you get a lot of information from today's vlog.
So now that we're gearing up for hurricane season, can you guys wrap it up and tell us a little bit about what we can do to prepare for that? Any tips, any pointers, what you guys anticipate coming?
I'll turn it over to Jena here in a second so she can talk about the upcoming preparedness guide. But obviously, as we all well know, we're in a tropical location. We live along the coast, not too far from it. And so we have to remind ourselves that we are in hurricane season is fast approaching. June 1 is when it starts and goes through the latter part of October. And our peak of our season is October or September. Whereas Hurricane Harvey still sets precedence on many of us and many of our mindsets because it was just a couple of years ago, 3 years back or so in 2017. But our return rate for a major category hurricane is once every 10 years. And so before Hurricane Harvey, while we had some small upsets, we had Hurricane Rita and Katrina back in 2005 that really changed the way in which we do things. In 2008, we had Hurricane Ike. But our last major hurricane strike in our Texas coastal region was in 1961 with Hurricane Carla. And so oftentimes we see the same thing in our day in and day out lives, that complacency starts to set in. And so especially for the younger generations as they come up, if they haven't experienced it, they therefore think it never happened. And so, or it won't repeat itself. And of course, in our field, we know that not to be true. And so we got to remind people that we do live in that tropical area. We live in a hurricane area. And we've got to be prepared. And so as we approach hurricane season, Jena and I will start pushing out a lot of information. It comes from the National Hurricane Center that really talks about, have that plan, be prepared for it. Have a plan ready to evacuate, ready to shelter in place if we have to switch gears because the storm is intensifying rapidly that we can't help people move, or the people themselves can't move and evacuate. And so have a evacuation plan ready to go, have a shelter in place plan ready to go with supplies of water and food for every member of the household, including pets and medications, and then the vulnerable population that may be around us are people that may need our assistance, our neighbors, and also family members that are there. With that, our office that took on a different role this upcoming year, COVID-19 kind of slanted us a little bit for it, and so the product, but I'll let Jena talk a little bit about it and go from there. So
Sure. To reiterate a lot of the things that Rick was just talking about as far as being prepared, we wanted to create kind of a all hazards approach to a hurricane and disaster preparedness guide for our Victoria residents. So it's going to go from just information about creating their own go bag, creating their own shelter in place kit, to a go bag or a preparedness kit for their animals or their pets, and just making special accommodations for those different things because like I said, no two events are alike. No two severe weather events are alike. And I know we can strategize and utilize statistics till we're blue in the face. But as far as being prepared, you can never be too prepared.
Right.
And as we've seen, 2020 has provided lots of curveballs. And so lots of challenges. And just being prepared and utilizing that guide. I know it's going to have a lot of different information from having flood insurance to having homeowners insurance, auto insurance, health insurance, and just basic things to think of to where us, or in an emergency management capacity where we're thinking all hazards all the time. I'm sure, and I can't sympathize because I don't have any, but being a parent and having children is a full-time job in itself. Running a home with children is a job in itself. Having your own job, having your own personal life, having to deal with finances, those are things that our regular citizens have to deal with. And so from an emergency preparedness standpoint, we wanted to be able to provide just some information to kind of think about during, pre-disaster or pre-event situations, to where you're preparing yourself and your family or your business or your organization, whatever it is that you may be looking to plan for, creating that plan, gathering the supplies you need, knowing what to do before, during, and after an event or a incident, and really just kind of honing in on those different things to where it may be that, aha, I didn't think about that.
Right.
And the key to the success of anybody that is fully prepared, as the more prepared you are, the better you're going to respond. The better you respond, the more resilient you're going to be.
Right.
And the quicker you'll go back to normalcy in a much faster aspect of things. And so that's the biggest thing about the preparedness guide is really trying to tell people, make sure that you are prepared, that these things can happen to you, and that when they do, just because they haven't happened in your lifetime or in your subset of your community, we've got to still be prepared for them.
Right.
And so.
Right. I think a lot of people probably understand that now, with
sure.
this pandemic, for example.
For sure. And the big word that I think he used, that I think we always try to keep individuals from not letting set in, is that complacency. Yeah. We don't know what it is that we are susceptible to until it's here, or until we know that it's going to be here. So.
Yeah, I want to tag on one little thing there is we don't ever want to diminish by any aspect. We understand that our community had some very unique responses to Hurricane Harvey. We had some damages associated to it. And so, but we definitely want the data to show to people is that we were prepared. We were preparing for a Category 4 hurricane. We experienced a wind load of a Category 1. Well, as we still had damages in our community, we had, 600,000 cubic yards of debris that was associated to Hurricane Harvey. We had people that lost their homes during Hurricane Harvey. And so we don't want to ever diminish that there was some very unique effects to that.
Right.
But we need people to realize and understand, specifically to Hurricane Harvey, is the wind load associated with that was a Hurricane 1. And we don't want people to have a misconception out there that all of a sudden we have a Category 2 or 3 hurricane and they think, well, we rode out a Category 4 at one time, I should be okay. No, we prepared for the Category 4. We rode out a Category 1, and that's a huge difference. And so it's kind of like taking a hike with only 1 liter of water compared to you're going to be going overnight. You need several liters of water. You've got to be prepared for it, ready to go.
Right.
Because once again, your key to success and response and resiliency is really hinged on your preparedness.
For sure.
Yeah.
And our preparedness as responders or responding agencies, if you will, is heavily reliant on how resilient and how prepared our community is. Because if we have those, what we like to call initial first responders that are there to see it when it happens or when it takes place, if they know what to do and they're already putting things into motion and are aware, then it makes it that much easier on our firefighters, our law enforcement officers, on us, on
Public Works.
Yeah, Public Works, any kind of public safety entity, you name it. It makes it easier on them if you have a general understanding or some kind of informative tactics behind what it is that you're doing next as a homeowner or a parent or what have you.
Well, thank you two so much for y'all's
Great, thank you,
time.
Ashley.
Yes,
We
definitely.
hope to have you guys again soon sometime. Maybe you have some more Hurricane Harvey tips. Speaking of, or hurricane tips in general, speaking of, where can we find the preparedness guide? And where can they find out more information about your division, your department?
They can go to City of Victoria's website, which is a newly relaunched website.
That's right.
I
Talk
like
gov.
Click on the emergency management link. You can go there. Other great information they could obtain either for hurricane season, go to the National Hurricanes website, Facebook page, or the social media pages, and also go to ready.gov is another great site to go to for plans and things like that to help them prepare.
And any information that we ever received either from the National Hurricane Center or from the National Weather Service in Corpus Christi, we will provide that information on our Facebook and on our Twitter too.
Sure.
So if they want to follow us there.
And what's your handle on Facebook and Twitter?
It is at Victoria, spelled all the way out, .oem. And then on Twitter, it is at, I think it's OEM _ Victoria, spelled all the way out, _ Texas, TX. Don't quote me on that. But.
We'll put up a graphic.
Yes, once I figure it out. It's pretty
And the
lengthy.
city's website is Victorians.gov, and that recently changed. So get excited. We have a new website.
Definitely.
Again, thank you all for your time.
course.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you
Thank
guys
you.
Been a
talking
pleasure.
with us and doing what you do. You have done a great job. And like Shane and I said, we were down here in the basement in the EOC. We got to see that day in and day out, and we appreciate everything that you do for our
Okay.
community.
Thank you all.
Definitely. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.